make sure to give my dad a 5-star review.
Make sure to like and subscribe to his YouTube. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
Hey guys, this is Josh Burtram. I'm the faithful host here on Faithful Politics, and we got another interesting and great show for you, a little bit unique today, but as always, I'm joined with our faithful and political co-host. He's faithfully political and politically faithful. How do you feel about that, Will?
Well, I feel pretty good about it, and I recognize, like, here's my own little insight about our show. Sometimes, like, there's this weird awkwardness at the very beginning where we're like struggling to try to like say something funny, and oftentimes it like comes across as being like an over the top dad joke that's a little bit awkward. And like, we don't necessarily rehearse this stuff before we start. So either like I'll say something or you'll say something, and then we have to respond, and it's just that weird sort of like awkward like response, like, I'm good, I think. So yeah,
well, we got into that nice rhythm where you go, it's good to be seen. I like that because that's a good response. I mean, I hear you. Like, we don't necessarily rehearse, meaning we don't rehearse these these beginnings. But we do want you to like and subscribe. Please do that because we produce a ton of amazing content. We're putting out like 3 videos a week.
Definitely.
And it's not on small inconsequential stuff. We have experts come in all the time. These aren't just like someone we met on the street and decided to interview about the latest in politics. These are experts, PhDs, policymakers. I mean, we really work hard to try to get you guys good people, smart people, intelligent lead thinkers, helping us process some of these major things. So I promise you, if you subscribe to this channel and you listen to this channel, you will learn an enormous amount. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, honestly, I think it'll add a lot of value to your life. And so I'm thankful for you guys. And that thankfulness, that was a good segue right there.
Yes, it was.
That was a good segue because we're going to have a Thanksgiving episode. It's not going to be as long, but we're just going to have some fun. So thanks for joining with us, guys, and stay to the end. Let us know your feedback in the comments. We'd love it. So, Will, what do you got for us today?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many different things, to talk about. We have been doing this now. We're in our 5th season. We'll be going into our 6th season.
Yes.
Which we haven't necessarily kind of figured out where our seasons, like where the bookends of the seasons start. Like at first, like in our first year, we started the seasons like every April because that's when we started the pod. And then I realized like that's a pretty terrible way to kind of, I mean, like nobody starts their year in April. No, not even the government, like they have a fiscal year. It goes from like October to September. And so, yeah, anyways, like I'm thankful for a lot, actually. And we can kind of get more into some of the details, but I'll just start off first by saying I'm definitely thankful for you. Despite your Confederate ties and your ancestors' involvement in the drafting of the Doctrine of Discovery. I don't know that one for a fact, but
probably.
Yeah, probably. And so yeah, I'm definitely thankful for you and the show.
Same.
I think that we've really done a lot of good, or at least what we would probably perceive as good.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to kind of start this podcast with somebody that I didn't agree with. And, as long as we still don't agree on a lot of things politically, I think we have a pretty promising future ahead of us.
Yes. And I would say we have a pretty promising future ahead of us. No, I'm. It's the same for me, man. I mean, I'm super thankful for you and your family, and you guys have been a huge blessing to me and to my family. And something that I am really thankful for is the friendship that my son has with your son, and vice versa. Like, I always think, man, Will's son. I always tell Malachi. And I'm like, you don't have very many good friends, but Mr. Will's son, he is a good friend. He's one you can hang out with and keep, I'm like, Jericho, he's a good dude. I like him. All these other guys, yeah.
It's so funny.
He's like the sweetest kid in the friggin' world, man. It's amazing. And all the stuff he's gone through, and it's just like it's been really cool to watch that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you're saying that, I'm sure you can hear the same. Like our kids are currently, as we're talking, playing Roblox.
Yes.
And I could hear the yelling from downstairs.
And they've moved. Yes, they moved into Fortnite, and I hear a lot of headshot and I got him, and I'm going to kill them, and so it's a little disconcerting. Right. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, I don't know. It's Fortnite, dude. And they love it. So, I mean, I'm super thankful for this podcast, man. There's 3 things that I love doing. I pastor church. I help one of my favorite people in the world with sermon prep and creation and content creation. And that's my cousin and buddy, Greg Ford. Pastor Greg Ford in Columbus, Ohio, with One Church, and he's amazing, and I love doing that, and I love doing the podcast. And so when I sit back and I think, man, I'm really living the dream that I've had for a long time, getting books from people, and I will say this, and I know we have some agenda here, but I do want to tell people, man, like, if you have a dream that you want to do and you're praying about it, like, pay attention to those desires, pay attention to that, like, that gut feeling, that sense. You can't always trust your gut, but many times you can. And I've said this before, but truly, I feel like God put on my heart and told me, I want you to do a podcast years before we met. And I tried one and it didn't work. It just wasn't the right thing. And I'm like, it's not the right time. And then I just knew when you asked me, and when we first started, I'm like, this is an opportunity. And the partnership, like, find someone else that wants to do it with you, someone you can trust. And I know that's easier said than done, but work together, because it really is. This has already gone beyond what I expected. And when we started this, certainly, and it has opened up so many opportunities. And really, I mean, honestly, it's just been learning, right, from the beginning, iteratively making things better in iterations, and just kind of like hard work and time, right? I mean, what else would you add, Will? I mean, what has gotten us, and I think the future is even more bright, but we couldn't have imagined interviewing and having some of the people on that we've had, and yet we've been able to do it. And I think back, I'm like, there was no magic solution, right? It was just, you keep going. We've both had times where we're like, screw this. This is too much work. What's happening? It's not getting the results. And yet we kept going because of mission and because of my relationship with you and just how much I was learning and growing. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a journey, and nobody. I shouldn't say. I was about to say nobody gets into the podcast industry to make millions, but then I thought, well, probably some people do, like Joe Rogan or whatnot. But we are not necessarily in this to get rich. I mean, there's a reason that, those listening or watching this right now don't see a lot of ads in our programming, because we actually wanted to kind of do podcasting a little bit differently. I mean, for anybody that's ever done podcasting, like there's like a whole like thing you have to do. It's like, okay, you need to get yourself in as many other podcasts as you can, and then you need to climb the ladder and do this or that, and and then once you get this number, then you can basically start charging for advertisements, for like Bombas socks or beds or whatever, and it's like, number one, I am a firm believer that I never want to do a podcast that I wouldn't want to listen to myself. And I do actually, like every Saturday when we're driving to your church, we actually listen to like our most recent podcast. So awesome. So I actually do listen to the stuff that we put out, and we just want something that people can connect with. We just want to be real about, how we feel about stuff, and do it in a way that we think is glorifying to God, and, treat other people as equals. I was mentioning to someone the other day that I don't know if you'll ever find another podcast that will have the cast of guests that we've had on, from Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation to Lucian Greaves, the co-founder of Satanic Temple, and a whole mix in between. And yes, that's not necessarily to brag, but it's an observation that I think those that have been with us from the very beginning understand, and it's one that we actually really kind of pride ourselves on. And it's a lot of hustle to actually produce the shows that we bring to you every single week, but we do it because we think it's important. I mean, the cost of the show is roughly around $2,000 a year, and that's something that you and I pay out of our own pocket. I mean, we make a little bit of money off YouTube. So here's sort of like the insider scoop. If you really want to help our show, like watch our YouTube stuff, because they give us a little bit of money. But again, it's nowhere near enough to cover the cost to produce a show.
Yeah, like $60 a month right now. I mean, I remember when it was 30, and now we're at like 60. So that's cool.
Yeah. So it's almost like, if you are a regular listener to the show, you probably know my and Josh's heart. And you tune in, you're like, oh, I wonder who they're going to have on the show this week. And then you're like, wow, I can't believe that they actually got a chance to talk to that person. But it's not like we're selling tickets, right? We're not selling like special subscriptions so people can get access to the extra stuff, or we're, showing like commercials. Cause I never really actually liked commercials on podcasts, because I've always thought it was like it was like a penalty, and then you have to pay to not be penalized, and it's never really made any sense to me. So, I don't really want to do that with our show. And hopefully we can keep it that way.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. And I know we got Thanksgiving coming up, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about how we're thankful, got a little bit into the weeds of how we do our show. We got Thanksgiving come up. What are you doing for Thanksgiving? Will, you got any big plans?
Yeah. So we are having a few friends over. All of my wife's family lives in Indiana. They're all a bunch of, really heavy Trump MAGA folks. I love them all dearly. And my family all lives in California, a bunch of, left wingers. So we're not going to California or Indiana. So we're just going to stay here with a couple of our friends. We got even a friend coming from Canada. And it's interesting because the guests we're going to be having over are all a bunch of liberals. So we don't necessarily need to worry too much about, talking about politics, because I would say, broadly speaking, we all will probably agree with one another. Although my wife likes to point out that I do tend to be the black sheep in conversations like this. So we're definitely going to talk about politics. What about you? And when you describe what you're doing for Thanksgiving, I'd love to maybe you give us some tips on on how we should talk about politics around the dinner table?
Well, I'm going to see my wife's family. I love my wife's family. I'm blessed with having really awesome in-laws and a great relationship with my in-laws. And so that's going to be good. We're all close. I lived near them for years and worked at my dad's, I call him dad, but my father-in-law's church for 6 years in Dayton, Ohio. And, it's been it's a great experience. And we're going to get there and I'll cook and I'll hang out and we'll stay up late, probably watch some Christmas movies because we're actually not going to go out there on Christmas. And, it's always, for this one, it's a little heaviness. My mother-in-law has stage 4 cancer and we're praying for her. And it's been a tough battle for the last, since 2020. So it's coming up on 5 years. I guess 4 years, and then entering into the 5th year, and it's just been that part is always there, but we've learned to enjoy each other, and we know that that's there, but we try to focus on the positive and focus on the good things that we have and things that we're thankful for. And I think when we get into conversation, so it's interesting because when I would go there, I'm probably now the most conservative of all the people that are in my family on my wife's side. Probably me and my wife are the most conservative in terms of the immediate family. But so I'll come out there, but I also probably have, in terms of just like background knowledge of like just the people I've talked to, not I'm sure they all read the news. They're very informed people. But I've just had a lot of different perspectives that I've had to kind of work with and be challenged by. And so there's a lot of assumptions that are made about, Trump potentially, about conservative things potentially, issues that I couldn't assume like, there's agreement around the table on this. We have my brother-in-law and his husband are going to be there. And so and they are amazing. We love them just like anyone. And, I'm just speaking from the same-sex marriage issues and my wife and I just wrestling through that and our upbringing and what that means and our beliefs. And but Caleb and David are an amazing part of our family. We love them. And so, there's a tension of wrestling through that. And some of these issues might touch on things like that, those political issues. And we typically avoid them, to be honest. They don't really talk about them, but I'm kind of the one sometimes that brings things up or just throws things out there. Or maybe my sister-in-law might throw something out there, controversial. And she is awesome and very much an advocate for LGBTQ. And that's great, man. I mean, I think she's had some, real work in her heart that she's done, and having these, Kayla and David so close to us, it changes you. And I think that is one thing, man. It's like the relationship is so important, and we all have our beliefs, man. We all have our beliefs, and my beliefs really haven't all that fundamentally changed. I think fundamentally they haven't changed, but I think my love, like I've learned how through difficult experience and painful experience and wrestling, I've learned how to prioritize love over my perception of what truth is. And that's not always, I hate to bring that out like there's some like love and truth are somehow disconnected, because I don't think that is the case. But I do think that we can get really tied in on an ideology, on a belief, on a perception of what truth is so much so, right? I don't think this is controversial to say this. I think many people are experiencing this and have, that we can get so tied into that, or we know people that get so tied into that, that essentially relationship is sacrificed on the altar of this perception. Really, I would say on the altar of ideology, not the altar of truth. And truth sets free. And, but it's the perception of truth, and then the fears and the things that go along with that, and that drive our behavior and drive our language. And, we all have that experience where someone says something or they bring something up and we feel it inside. This tension of in this almost, it's painful. Like, do I need to say something to rebut this? Do I need to correct them? Do I need to do something? And I would encourage everyone, please, please, please be curious when you have that feeling, and first start with why you're having that feeling, and especially what fears are happening beneath the surface that are driving you to have this feeling, because you can't control that, right? The only thing you can do is react and try to understand and try to be curious. So I really, really, really hope, if I can put anything out there, and this is kind of trite, but it's so, in my experience, so important, is transform that anxiousness as best as you can, question it, and turn it into a curiosity, and ask a lot of questions. And if the other person doesn't want to answer those questions, then move on, because it's not going to be a productive conversation anyway. But if you can ask questions and there's some back and forth, oh, why do you like Trump so much? Please. And you can even say, like, I'm not trying to start a fight here. I really want to know. And if you don't really want to know, then maybe don't say anything. Maybe just pass the mashed potatoes, eat, and change the subject to, I don't know, something funny. Moo Ding, the freaking the hippo,
Pygmy hippo.
the pygmy hippo. Just change it to Moo Ding. Moo Ding can save your Thanksgiving. But at this point, man, be curious. Be curious. And if you can't be curious, I'd say you got to start asking yourself some questions. That's my thoughts. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, there's a great philosopher that said, be curious, not judgmental. I believe his name was Ted Lasso. I can't really pronounce his last name very well, but no, I think that's really good advice. It's much better than sort of like the rules I had kind of followed prior to the show, which is like yell louder, never admit defeat, and never claim like responsibility for anything. But no, I think this Thanksgiving is going to probably be the first time that, we're all going to connect with friends and family since the election. And I think that's important to just sort of like keep in context, because the last time you may have seen some of these folks, like, we were still kind of like in the election season, and people are sort of like jockeying for position and changing their position and changing candidates, for one of the political parties. And, I think that going into sort of any sort of, family setting or friend setting, to just be prepared to have your political views challenged and tested. And what I have found as a good tool, especially even if you don't have like, if you are not like a high propensity voter, the one that actually like, goes to congress.com, looks up the like build number and starts reading like all the co-sponsors and all the texts and all the other kind of stuff, like if you're not one of those type of people, you can still apply what I'm about to tell you in any situation. And that's personalizing the reasons that you voted the way you did. And to do it in such a way that it doesn't demoralize or demean the other side. So for instance, like if somebody, like if you voted for Trump, and you're going to like your liberal family's Thanksgiving dinner, people are basically going to accuse you of all the misdeeds of Trump. But you can say, I don't know anything about that. I voted for Trump because in his first term, he signed legislation for right to try, and the right to try bill, gave me a couple more years with my grandma, my mom, or dad, whatever the case may be, and say, hey, I am hoping he can do something similar to that. It doesn't have to be, oh yeah, Biden or Kamala was so horrible, and so I voted for Trump. No, just make it personal for why you did it, because then that
really good.
That sort of insulates you from all the other nonsense, and just because there are single issue voters, or like with what Biden did. If you voted for Biden or voted for Harris, and people are questioning you about, all the babies you're killing or whatever, you can just be like, hey, I don't know about any of that, but as a part of the infrastructure bill, my family who lives in this rural area, doesn't have a lot of money, can now FaceTime and see their grandkids, and because I did the exact same thing with Obama. Like when Obama was up for re-election, I can't remember if he did in his first or second term, but I did vote for him because of Obamacare. Like my mom, who's been cutting hair for 40, 50 years, lives on very, very little, couldn't afford health insurance. So, after Obamacare was passed, it actually, made it so that way, like my mom could have health care, and she lives in California. I live in Virginia. So it's like, it's nice having that. So I think, personalizing the reason that you voted for somebody, definitely shields you, because nobody's going to question, like your personal motivations. And also like it allows you to express how you felt, and the reason you feel this way that prompted you to vote for somebody, versus having to defend all the other, indefensible stuff that, the other candidate did.
Man, that is really, really good. That's freaking gold. And I hope people are listening, and I hope that they're taking that to heart, because, as you're talking, I was thinking it's okay to be a one issue voter. It's like, this is America, dude. You can vote for whoever you want. You can write someone in. You have the right to write whoever you want in. You can vote for whoever you want for whatever reason you want. And yeah, I would love it if people can all be more informed. And I think that's a good thing, to question why and to wonder what's going on with policies and whatever. But dude, this is America. And that's what makes America beautiful, is that we do have freedom, and that we can vote for who we want. And I know it's a two-party system and it's rigged and all that. It's rigged on the left. It's rigged on the right, dude. We're all just we're in the matrix. Okay. I get all that. But you can vote for whoever you want, and don't be ashamed. And you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to say anything. You can say, you know what? I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not comfortable talking about who I voted for.
Yeah.
Or you can do something much nicer and express your reasons, like Will just said. They're personal reasons, because we all have them. And I think getting those that act of self-awareness and self-understanding is so important. And that's what we're about here, is just figuring out what we really think, laying our cards on the table. And dude, if I'm wrong, let me know that I'm wrong, how I'm wrong, and maybe I'll change it. Maybe I won't. Guess what? That's not up to the other person. That's up to me to work through that, and you to work through your own things. So just take the pressure off.
Well, I feel like at the beginning we said this wasn't going to be very, very long, but here we are, 28 minutes. So let's talk about things that we're thankful for, and the food that we're most looking forward to eating. Why don't you go?
Well, I've already said I'm thankful for you and for the podcast. Very thankful for my family. And I'm thankful for the growth that God has done in my life. I really feel that deeply, and the progress that he has done internally within me, the work that he's doing. And my favorite food is green bean casserole, smoked turkey. I love smoked turkey, green bean casserole, and of course stuffing and mashed potatoes and gravy. I mean, that's just like classic. And I mean, so I just started Weight Watchers, to be honest with you. And none of those are good on Weight Watchers. And the point system, they're all like crazy points, like gravy. Oh, you get crushed on gravy, dude. It's basically like liquid fat, essentially.
Are you gonna stick to the point system during Thanksgiving?
We're wrestling with that right now. Ashley and I, my wife, dude, she is a superstar. And she has gotten to the point where she gets Weight Watchers for free because she got to her goal weight and has maintained it for years. And she just is amazing, and she knows it in and out. We're going to try. I'm definitely going to track. I don't know if I'm going to stick to, I only get 40 points a day only. And some people are probably on Weight Watchers like, what? That's so many. Ashley gets like 26 or 25. So it's like, or maybe even less. It's not a lot. I just need to do some Ozempic, dude. That's what I really need to do.
That's what I'm saying. Like Ozempic or whatever the Wegovy. Like if it like I'll make an exception if they want to actually sponsor our show, at least until
Ozempic.
Until we at least get to our goal weight, and
yes, we'll take free trials and we'll sell it on the show.
It's so true.
Who doesn't want to lose weight?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like for me, super thankful for family. I just love my family. Super thankful for, like Jericho and all his medical issues. So for those that are just tuning in and haven't really followed the whole thing, so my now 11-year-old had a brain tumor removed when he was 9, and was on chemo for a number of years. So yeah, he's healthy now. Living kind of a normal 11-year-old life and boy and all that other kind of good stuff. It's not over yet, but I mean, it's much more over than it was like 2 years ago. So we're very, very blessed and very thankful for that. Very thankful to have a really, really amazing job that helps pay for the work we do here at the show. Like, they're not funding it. It's just I collect a paycheck and then I use the paycheck to
same here
to fund the show and my day job I get to work with some pretty amazing people with disabilities and try to keep them safe. So like it's sort of a dream job for me. Even if the success of this show just skyrocketed, I'd be hard pressed to probably even leave my day job, to be honest, just because it's just so rewarding. And then last but not least, like I'm really thankful for the audience that we have. I mean, we started from nothing, and it's encouraging to kind of see our numbers grow, because for me, at least, I internalize that as it's having an impact. And we don't do like any advertising or marketing hardly ever. So just having this organic growth just means that you all are talking to each other, and our show is growing and people are being exposed to different voices that they may have never been exposed to before. So, and all the little notes, the reviews you leave, we read 100% of them, just so you're aware. Like all the YouTube comments, and even the YouTube comments that are hidden because there's something kind of like, I don't know, offensive in it. Like I even read those. So,
yes.
So make sure you reach out and let us know what you think. Cause we do read all of them.
We absolutely read them, and we don't get to respond to every one of them, but we definitely read them.
Yeah. So, and for favorite Thanksgiving food, I mean, I'm a big like pecan pie person. I don't eat pumpkin, don't eat sweet potato. All that's kind of gross.
Pecan pie is my favorite as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, give me basically like a slice of pecan pie with like an entire bottle of whipped cream and just like let me be. So yeah. Well, anyways, I think that about does it. So yeah.
How many points do you think a slice of pecan pie is on Weight Watchers?
130.
Oh, that's a lot. That's probably too much. Let's see. Weight Watchers points pecan pie. Let's see here. Oh, that's not but that's their own recipe.
Yeah.
10 points. My guess is they're 15 to 20 points a slice.
Well, it doesn't have any points this episode, and we're so glad that you stopped by and consumed us. No, that's gross. Hold on. Make sure we do that. Thanks for stopping by, and remember, keep your conversations not right or left, but up. And happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, see ya.
Hey there, Josh Burtram here, faithful host of the Faithful Politics Podcast. I want to let you know about a compelling new spinoff, the Faith Roundtable, where I'll be interviewing top faith leaders, theologians, and scholars to unpack the pressing issues that are shaping the church in America today. We'll dive into topics like faith in public life, social justice, and how we can engage our communities more effectively. Make sure you don't miss any of our enlightening conversations by subscribing to it on our YouTube channel. Join me at the Faith Roundtable, where deep discussion meets thoughtful insight.